So our first scenario, I think I went over the format a little bit. We'll go over a scenario and then we will have a discussion, but let's just jump into that. So our first scenario is called Temptation's Toll. And in this scenario, Kaleigh, student, is having difficulty getting started on a case study assignment in business class. She Googles the course number to see if there are any study groups where she can chat with other students. But what comes up instead are pages on Course Hero and other essay sharing sites that show previous student assignments. They're all blurred, so she can't see what's there. It asks her to upload an assignment and to be able to see the blurred section. A little bit of quid pro quo. She is desperate at this time, so she grabs a years-old assignment and uploads it, planning to just peek at the case study and then delete her own upload. But when she looks at the case study, she realizes right away she missed part of the assignment instructions and doesn't even need to look at what she just unveiled to herself. So she then goes to delete what she uploaded on Course Hero, but it won't let her. So her heart just sinks as she realizes that she uploaded an assignment with her name and the instructor's feedback on it. What should Kaleigh do? So here's the participation moment where we want to hear from you. So what you do is you go to menti.com and you can enter this numeric code, or you can click on the link that I just put in the chat. And so what I have here is 4 options of ways that you could advise Kaleigh. Everyone can see my screen, right? Yeah. And so there's...
Sorry, Kristin, I think we have 1 or 2 people calling in, so I'm just going to read out the code. If you go to menti.com, you can type in the code 9323 1414. So 9323 1414. Thanks.
Great. And then I'll read these options so that people can think along with us. Someone is asking what Course Hero is. So Course Hero, I hate to educate on it, but it is a website where students share assignments, which is generally speaking against most institutions' academic integrity policies. So it's kind of a cheating website. So what we have here are 4 options kind of ranking how you would advise Kaleigh in this situation. So Kaleigh's calling you and saying, this is where I'm at. People are ranking them, but I'll just read them out. Direct her to counseling and mental health supports, share time management tips and websites so she doesn't get desperate again, help her find legitimate study groups, and suggest she contact her tutor explaining her mistake and that she is correcting it. So yeah, I really like how everyone has ranked these. It seems like one is, most people really think the first one is the first one. It's not just in close competition with the second one. Yeah, so let me see. So in the first instance, thanks everyone for your participation on that survey about what Kaleigh should do. And maybe you have other ideas of what she should do. You can throw those in the chat. We'd love to bounce ideas. That's just what I kind of came up with. But first of all, I feel like when it comes to, looking for help on assignments, we really can struggle in the online environment because we don't have that period of time after class going, have you started the assignment? What did you do to start the assignment? We don't have that kind of informal space to chit chat with peers. And so I really get why Kaleigh, went looking for study groups, because that's what she looked for, off the hop. So I really just want to validate that instinct to look for peers. We really do need to reach out to peers and to support each other and create that community. Just getting through online learning is really difficult. But when it comes to an assignment which has specific assignment instructions, I think we want to be really careful about what is collaboration. So can you collaborate on an assignment versus can we form study groups, support groups, sharing tips and tricks about online learning and getting through our courses. So really check with your tutor, find out how much collaboration is allowed, and find their contact info. And so the other thing I want to say is, and thank you in the chat for asking about what kind of website this is Kaleigh is panicking partly because she needs help with this assignment, but also now this website's not giving her assignment back, and her private information was uploaded and she's not allowed to take it off. So I just want to caution everyone against these companies, because what they're doing is providing an unethical service, which tells us that they're not going to feel obligated to treat you in an ethical way. So we've heard about cases where, private information is disclosed. Maybe even students have to pay money to get some of their information back. We're really not dealing with a company that's got your best interests in mind, let's say. And then also directly using these kinds of websites is against our policy. I'll put the policy in the chat just so you can refer to it, but we really want to stay away from these sites. And I'll just pass over to Sarah Jean. Yeah, people are sharing tips in the chat. That's great.
Yeah, I also wanted to comment on how the site presented itself with that blurring. I could see the blurring kind of adding to Kaleigh's desperation. It makes what's underneath seem more treasured and important. But don't be fooled by that, because is this assignment that it gives you even that likely to be very good? You really don't know anything about the student who authored this assignment, and all of that. So you don't really know what you're getting. And that secrecy also suggests to me the site's exploitative nature, that, they're really trying to get students to upload more and more assignments. My tips for Kaleigh kind of go backwards in time. And what I would suggest to her is time management and planning to avoid that desperation. So she can actually plan how long to spend on each stage of the writing process, have planned out what to do each day. And that includes understanding the assignment instructions. That's the very first step in the writing process. If you're not sure how to do this, you can always use an assignment calculator to help you split up the time that you have over the writing process. And I'll put a link to a list of some assignment calculators in the chat there. I would even suggest reading the assignment instructions at the beginning of the course for all of the assignments. And that way your brain can be processing them while you're working through the course materials. And, you'll start to make those connections. Oh, this would help me on this assignment. This would help me on this assignment. So even if you don't have a full understanding of the assignment yet, because you haven't gone through all of the course materials and you're not quite there yet, it'll still give you that preview. I think that's really important. And in Kaleigh's case, she missed something in the assignment instructions. So reading it at the beginning of the course and then reading it again when she has planned to begin that assignment will help her to be better prepared to understand that. Also, from the beginning of the course, it's a great idea to introduce yourself to your instructor so that you have that line of communication open. And when you get to this point of questions and confusion, you can reach out to them and you have that connection going. You can even say, like, when you introduce yourself, why you're taking the course, what program you're in, what you're studying, those types of things, just to kind of get that rapport going, and then they know your name and they know, oh, this, they're gonna click on that email and get back to you, because they know you a little bit, right? And your instructor also knows their own expectations, and that's why I would suggest that Kaleigh goes to her instructor next time instead of to the internet. Maybe these papers she's found online are from another instructor with different expectations and different preferences. So again, it's not really the best resource for that. And online learning can feel like you're very much alone. So it could be helpful for Kaleigh to know she's not alone. She can discuss it with her instructor, like I said, to make sure she understands. She could work with a writing coach at the rate site to help her plan and then confirm that plan with her instructor. And some students mentioned some different online resources to get in touch with peers, like Discord. Some students also use Facebook. AU, I believe, will soon be implementing a tool called Near-Peer to give you that. And it should be integrated through your Brightspace or your Moodle. So you can chat with other people in your course or your program. I also just wanted to mention, because of that suggestion of looking for those peer groups, if you do use them, just make sure that you are using them also in an ethical way, not using them to kind of like share assignments, like recycle people's assignments. Some people might encourage you to do that, or it might kind of seem like a kind of quick fix. Again, if you're feeling that desperation, make sure that you're using them to kind of guide and support each other, as opposed to potentially getting yourself in hot water. So again, that policy is there that Kristin mentioned, and you can check that out. We also have another scenario where we discussed the Facebook group and something kind of questionable that came up in it. So I'll see if I can find that and post that in the chat. And my final point I just wanted to mention is that if you can't reach your instructor, you can also reach out to the course coordinator. And I'll give you a link in the chat that shows you how to find the coordinator for your course. And I'll hand it over to Elaine.
Thanks very much, Sarah Jean and Kristin. Yeah, I agree very much with what my colleagues have said. For me, the real issue is that Kaleigh doesn't really understand what the assignment is asking. And while Googling the name of the course name, or Googling the course name and number created a problem, there are other things that she could have done instead that would have avoided that problem and actually helped her to complete the assignment in an ethical way. For example, the library has materials in the catalog on the case study method, which would have been good sources for Kaleigh to review to help her understand exactly how to get started. The other thing that she could have done was actually searched on Google for a case study method. And that would have pointed her to things like library guides on how to approach case studies. Using Google is not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to be really, really careful about what it is that you're actually looking at. And so that's something to really be thinking carefully about. The other thing is that the Library Information Desk has staff who can help students to work through their assignments so that we can point the student in the direction of resources that would help, and to answer questions about things like creating search strategies and identifying the sources that might be relevant, and and really just helping to take away some of the fear that comes along with assignments like this that you don't feel really comfortable with. Okay.